So here's the code for the mod that I demonstrated in the last video. And you'll notice that I have two imports right here. I'm importing my own sequencing library, and I'm importing my own randomness library. And by the way, a library is just a word for some code that somebody wrote to make coding easier. And in this case, I wrote these. So I wrote some code to make my own coding easier. And I'll show you some of that. Here's the sequencing library, and you see that that has 3 functions in it, and I'm exporting those functions so they can be used in any mod that imports that sequencing mod. And here's my randomness library, which I talked about actually in one of my other video series on randomness. And this, for now, just has 2 functions. I might add more later. This one takes a list and gives you back something random from inside that list. And this one moves a drone at random in some direction. And so we'll be using both of those. But first, let me just mention how you would import something in your mod if you wanted to. So here's test 2, just a quick thing I put together to demonstrate. You start with the import, and you have to know the name of the person who wrote it. That's easy for me because I wrote these mods. And then you have to know the name of the mod that you're importing. So, sequence. And then if you got it right, it turns green. And the second it turns green, you can look under functions, and you'll see that you have new function blocks. I have this new sequence block, this add to sequence, and this execute sequence block, which is pretty cool. So we'll be needing all of those. And a sequence is just a way to do an animation. It's like a sequence of events. So I'll quickly put together a main function that demonstrates that, main. And the first thing we need to do is make a sequence and assign it to a variable. And I'll just call that variable sequence. And then you want to add some things to the sequence. Maybe we'll add a couple of things. So we see 3, how about 3 things happen one after another. And then once you've added everything to the sequence, that's when you want to execute the sequence. So this is the basic structure of some kind of animation. We say we're going to have a new animation or a sequence, then we add a few things that we want to happen in sequence, and then we execute the sequence. And since we only have one sequence here, we're always going to be adding things to the same sequence, so I'll go ahead and fill in that parameter for each of these functions. And that is the sequence we want to animate. You could have multiple sequences if you want different things happening at the same time, like maybe you have, one animation going on in one place and another animation going on somewhere else. You could have those be in different sequences, but I'll let you figure out how to do that. For now, we'll just have one sequence, and you want a delay that is going to happen between each of these events in that sequence. And I'll pick, let's say, 1 second. So it's in milliseconds, so 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. And I'll go ahead and make that the delay for each of these events. And now, the only thing that's missing is this thing, it says fun, but that's short for function. So a function is code that kind of is wrapped up together inside one block. Looks like this. And whatever code is in there, that's what's going to be part of my first event. So maybe I want to get struck by lightning, for example, first. So we'll strike lightning at the location of me. And actually, maybe that's something I should do the next time too. So I'll have myself get struck by lightning 3 times in a row, 1 second apart each time. And maybe the last time we'll do something a little different. We'll send a message to myself that says, okay, you're safe now. So we should get struck by lightning 3 times, each 1 second apart, and then at the very last time it should say, okay, you're safe now. So let's see how that works. Okay, so let's see. 1,000, struck by lightning, struck by lightning, struck by lightning, and then at the end it says you're safe now. Do it one more time, just so you can see that 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. So 3 lightning strikes, then it says you're safe now. I definitely encourage you to try to use sequencing in one of your projects before watching the next video. In the next video, we'll be using sequencing to do animated building of cool stuff in Minecraft.